This isn't your soft launch. This is the hard launch, where we talk about what it takes to build love, businesses, and everything in between.
Elizabeth, you are the founder of two companies that sit at the exact intersection of what this show is all about. You spent 15 years working in the wedding industry, started as a cater waiter at 18, and then working your way through luxury catering and eventually founding Emlan Events, one of New York City's premier boutique wedding planning companies, and then went to build Spennie, a curated wedding registry marketplace, connecting engaged couples with independent retailers across the country. And you are proof that the best products get built by people who have lived inside the problem. Are you ready to talk launches?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to take it back. You started in hospitality at 18 years old, which
That's
is wild. So
yeah.
young.
Mhm.
You were a cater waiter and intern working your way through the luxury catering business. What were you learning in those years that you think you probably couldn't have learned anywhere else and have taken with you?
Yeah. I mean, those years, so the backstory is I was a senior in high school and needed an internship and had a friend of a friend whose mom owned Great Performances. So that's how I started there so young. I was a senior in high school and was a natural fit with the company. And I really loved everything they were doing. They were doing like luxury and not just weddings, events. A lot they run a lot of the venues that are like cultural institutions in New York. So Brooklyn Academy of Music, Jazz at Lincoln Center, the Apollo Theater, all these like quintessential New York places. Um, and so then I worked for them in the summer. I went to college. I worked for them in the summers and winters at college. Like I was very assimilated into their culture. I learned so much. I mean, through those years, I got to work at some of the coolest venues in New York, on some of the, like, most famous galas and nonprofit events, and with some of the best event designers and event planners. So, when I think back to, like, what where my I mean, I learned everything at those events. You learn how to be a team player, you learn how you're just, in some ways, just a cog in a wheel, uh, and then in other ways, like how impactful your little work, goes to such an event that you wake up and it's like in the New York Times the next morning or whatever it is. I mean, I worked on tons of like celebrity events and galas that I'd see incredible talent and performers at. I mean, I have so many memories of like doing fulfilling riders and doing green rooms. Just like, I remember doing Maroon Five's green room, like just random things. And when somebody asks me today how to start in this industry, I always say catering because I think you get to see such a wide variety of events. So not just weddings, not just social. A large catering company like that, you get to see it from like the venue side, event production side. You get to work with planners and designers, and then you really get to like see the whole scope of the industry. So I learned everything. I mean, I met everyone. I learned everything.
I mean, that's so cool. And you don't often have an opportunity to get that type of experience, especially at that in that phase of life.
Yeah.
How did you initially go about seeking that internship? Like, how did you know that this was what you
Uh,
wanted to get into?
I never seeked it out, and I also never ever thought, never said I wanted to be a wedding planner. It wasn't even in my scope of awareness in high school or middle school. I was really math and science focused. I actually was going to Michigan. I went to University of Michigan, but I was going to study engineering. I had been accepted to study engineering. So like this was not even remotely close to what I thought I would do. I come from a family of lawyers and engineers, so it felt like those were the options. But I really liked great performances. They also have a nonprofit element where they like bring kids up to their farm and teach them about where food comes from, and they have a really strong commitment to sourcing locally, and those were all things that I was really connected to and connecting to even more working there. So it's by no means like I was seeking this out. I mean, really, it was like a true New York moment where a friend was like, "Go work for this company," and I needed an internship to graduate high school, and was like, "Okay, the stars aligned." And it was just I never left the industry since. So it wasn't like I ever was like, get me into I mean, no one should ever be like, "I wanna be a wedding planner." It's not for the weak, as you know, as, like, we could talk about, but no, I never ever was seeking this out.
I was talking to another planner recently who was sharing that her way to interview anybody new for her team is to break them down first and tell them all the horrific things about wedding planning and all the things that like are so anti-glamorous and
Yeah,
anti our perception of like what we think
yeah,
planning these types of events are. And then she'll like sit down and be like, just something you still want to do. And if they say yes, then they'll continue. And if they say no, which oftentimes is the case, it's like no love lost because, they just had a misperceived notion of what this actually
what it
was. It is
is. Yeah.
so not glamorous.
No, I mean, it is and it's not. Like, you're in wonderful venues, you're around incredible products, like, you see beautiful flowers and incredible food, and, like, that part is just to experience, like, a curated menu sometimes in a location you would never have otherwise been to, like, those are all glamorous things, but, like, the schlep factor is real, the late nights, the being on your feet for 15 hours in a row, the, changing in a bathroom at, like, 5:45 when you have guests arriving at 6. Like, those are the glamorous I mean, I've changed everywhere, like, behind a truck, you name it. I've put on from my daytime outfit to my ball gown I mean, literally putting on a ball gown behind a truck is, like, not weird. So, yeah, it's super anti-glamorous, but I think there is definitely a glamorous component to it, and I actually hate when people are like, "It's, like, the most unglamorous job ever," because no, we get, like, incredible access to food and beverage, to a lot of, to event I mean, I've seen every museum in New York closed at night when it's a private event. Like, I've seen every exhibit in New York privately. Like, that is very cool.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think you have to have just a perception based in reality, right? There's two sides of the coin and that like glamorous side doesn't come without the anti-glam side, which is like changing behind a truck or like really hustling to like bring this thing to life. And it's not just you, it's like a whole production team.
Yeah.
Your parents, I read, are both first and second generation Americans who are also entrepreneurs. You mentioned you come from a very different
Yeah.
background, neither of which were sort of like in the creative or like wedding or event space. How much of the way that you run your business comes from influence from them and watching them? What have you taken from that side of your background, and how much of that kind of seeps into what you do day to day now?
Interesting question. Yeah, I think a lot of my influence comes from them. I mean, I was never like encouraged necessarily to go like work for a big company, and I worked for several companies before I went on my own, but I have a lot of friends who like have the opposite experience. Like you need healthcare and you need this and you need comfort and stability and those are like real needs and desires, especially for certain personality types. But my parents definitely like knew I was entrepreneurial and, encouraged me when the time was right to do my thing, and my dad always was like, "You make your own business." You know, things can happen in the world, recessions can happen. He's obviously lived through quite a few recessions, like, you find your business, you make your business, you keep your business. So, if you wanna be successful, you can be at a big company, but you could also be let go tomorrow or lose everything in a minute. If you have your own business, it's really your power, your control. So, I think that's one of the biggest things I took from him, and, my mom is just, like, a hustler. She just works hard. I think she ingrained those things in me. She's, like, one of those women who manages to, like, have a home-cooked meal on the dinner table every night and work 7,000,000 hours a week and have a thriving business and see her friends and, be a thoughtful mom and now grandmother, like, I don't know. I think she was just, like, the quintessential do-it-all human being that I have clearly learned a lot from.
That is amazing. And I don't think we give enough credit to women who are doing that because there's a lot, out there and you see a lot of people launching businesses and launching, whatever startups. And doing that is one thing, but doing that with a family and with kids and when you're in that phase of life, to me is just like a whole nother ballgame. I mean,
Um,
I'm gone and still going through that journey, and it's just like not talked about enough, I think. So, I
yeah.
mean, applause to your mom because I know how difficult. I mean, you are also a mom. You get it as much as anyone. So, it's extremely difficult, but the fact that we do it is amazing. How did you know that you had a specific talent for events? Like, how did you know you didn't want to just work in them or for somebody, but you yourself had a knack for designing and producing and creating? How did that come to be?
I always knew I was really good at my job. The thing that I also was aware of, and I think certain bosses over the years, let me in on this, was I was always like very entrepreneurial. And that's not always the best skill to have when you're working for somebody else. Like, and that's been made aware to me over the years. Like, I've been on sales teams and I was like, well, what if we do this? And what if we bring on this person? And it wasn't always met with like yays and cheers. And I would be like, why don't they want, there was a moment where we like talked about opening a new division of a company. And like, I was like, I'll spearhead this. And so I was always met with, not always, but often met with resistance when I was like gung ho about starting something at another company. So that was like definitely something I just, like, couldn't relate. I'd be like, "Why wouldn't she want me to do this? It's like a whole new wheel of business. It's a whole new this." That was one thing, and the other was I mean, I was just really good at my job. I was really good at my clients liked me. I was really good at production. I mean, I was like, I could do a rental order with my eyes shut. I know everything there is to know about attended events. Like, I know every single venue in New York. I at this point, like, I feel like this is where I'm comfortable and where I'm meant to be, and yeah, it just felt, like, natural, and then I'll tell you there was, like, a trigger incident, but there was an event that really like, I did this event, I was like, "Okay, I'm going on my own, this is insane." It was a wedding. I don't wanna say too much because it's somewhat high profile, but I did an event for a
We
we
can keep it anonymous.
very well-known planner, and I felt like the planner had no control over her clients, and they were asking for all the things, which we've all been through, but I felt like she had no control, and that was something I think I'm really good at is sort of, like, reining them in or, like, not not never saying, like, "No, we can't do that," but, like, "How about this?" Or, like, "It's not possible under this time frame, but, like, this is what we can show you in 2 days," or whatever. So, I think that's one of the areas that I excel is, like, presenting things in a way that might not be exactly what you're asking for, but a way that's, like, really doable from a production standpoint and a budgeting standpoint. So, I felt like she lost control, and the vendors were pissed. We were all on site for a few days, and the vendors were like, "I'm never working for this person again. This is so horrible. I feel like I'm being used and abused." It was, probably million plus dollar production. It was a really small wedding too, so, like, it was just insane, and the timeline was awful. Like, it was just nothing was maintained, there was no order to anything, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is, like, the worst run event ever." And I'm, like, just a vendor here, like, if she's doing this, I can do this. If she can get a client like this, I can get a client like this. And I would say that was my last event where I was like, "I'm doing it, done, I'm going on my own, like, I am such a better planner than this." And yeah, that was it.
Amazing. What a moment. And I feel like all these things happen from like moments of pain, like some moment where
Yeah.
it's like, this is so painfully terrible and like there has to be a better way. And like the fact that you saw that and you were like, okay, I can do this better, right? Like that's, I mean, that's how like the best ideas are born. What was Tell me about like founding Emlyn. What was the vision? How did it evolve from like that moment, I'm going to plan a company or I'm going to get clients, I'm going to be a wedding, I'm going to be a planner to I'm going to build out a company and what it has become today?
Yeah, I mean, I actually started Emlan Events in 2020 in COVID as a consulting company. So I was like it was COVID and I had a lot of people who kept calling me being like, I'm locked into a contract at the plaza and I need to get out of it, or I had a client at Liberty Warehouse who was like, I need to find a tent in the Hudson Valley because of COVID reasons. So I started just like talking to people. People were calling me. And I was like, I come from a half my family is lawyers. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start billing like a lawyer and just like seeing how this goes. I'm on unemployment, I'm working furloughed, like I'm gonna, see if there's a business model here to be had. And I started being like, I'm happy to help you, but I'm gonna charge you just for an hour of conversation. And so I did that. I remember my first client doing that, and she was like, okay, like, of course, you should charge. And then I started doing it a little bit more. And so it kind of led into planning, but I was billing for planning from an hourly standpoint. So that worked for a bit, and then one of those clients was like, "Wait, I like you so much better than my other planner who I had booked for a whatever ballroom in New York," and I had found her this new venue, and we had done that on an hourly basis, and she's like, "Can I bring you in to, like, finish planning my wedding?" And I was like, "Yeah." So that was the first one, and then it just, like, snowballed. I had so much work right off the bat. But it snowballed really quickly into, like, planning, and it elevated a bit too. So, like, with the hourly, I could, help anyone. There was really low barrier to entry. There were no, like, minimums or anything. And by the way, I still do consulting. Like, I'll always consult. I think it's, like, the core of what I believe in, which is, like, giving people support and help. And with consulting, it's like you're paying for an hour of my time or more. Some people do, like, 10 hours over a month or 30 hours over a year. Like, there's no limit to it, there's no minimum to it, and I think it's really valuable for people. So, even if I get inquiries that are I'll be the first one to say, like, "Don't make sense to hire a planner, don't make sense to hire me." I'm like, "But if you want some help and you want someone to sort of, like, hold you accountable over the course of planning, I'm happy to be that person." And so we set up, like, budgets and timelines and planning goals, and I have a client right now, like, in 2 weeks, you have to have your DJ booked. Like, it's like a nice cadence for people that don't have a planner that are doing it themselves. But from the planning perspective, I realized really quickly that I like the world of and just from my world of being in off-premise catering for so long, I think naturally, like, there's a certain world in which I live as a business and my ethos lives, and that I believe people require full service planners that go, like, really cross every T and dot every I, and so I eventually just had to make a decision that that's the world I'm gonna live in as a planner. So we do consulting, which is different, and we do full service planning. We don't really do much in between. But yeah, it's an interesting story how we got there.
Are you primarily consulting like end clients, or do you find that people are calling you also to help them manage their businesses and like plan other planners?
No, other planners, no. Occasionally, like in the beginning, we had catering companies call because they needed some systems put in place or they wanted like me to put together even like a sales outreach list because I was on a catering sales team for almost a decade. So I had a company like needed help with like rental templates and like I can kind of do all that stuff with my eyes shut. So occasionally I'd say, like, the only B2B really I'm not consulting with other planners yet, I haven't thought about that, but, I'd say catering companies, occasionally venues, and then it's primarily clients who do not have the budget for a full service planner.
I think that model's becoming more and more relevant in today's day and age because it's the
Um,
consulting that really helps you kind of get from point A to point B without having to pay for a full service planner. And, that is a luxury still. And that like the price of one is only
yeah.
rising in today's economy. And I think the fact that you are able to kind of democratize that level of expertise is really important. How did people know to call you, right? Like in the beginning of building a business of your own, was it contacts that you had already made through like the catering life that you had lived? Or was it net new contacts that were finding you in some other way? Like, how did you make it known that you were launching this service and that you were launching into the world as a consultant now and as somebody who is providing that level of expertise and services?
Yeah, I mean, when I launched, I had a couple clients, so it wasn't, like, so out of the blue, but, in the beginning, I definitely through my contacts, I was able to make some clients right away, and then there was so much business those first few years of COVID because everyone was trying to figure out what to do with their wedding, and that it was changing every 4 seconds. So I really did have a lot of business, particularly on the consulting side. But even, like, in 2022, when, like, some of those consulting clients turned over to full service planning clients, yeah, there was just, like, a lot of work. I would say now it's a lot of word of mouth. I mean, like, I think my social looks great. I don't think I'm the best at social. Like, I think it's a lot of word of mouth and repeat clients or repeat families at this point, I should say, like, doing the second kid in their wedding or something like that. I also get planners who send me clients, and that's a really great referral system, like, and, I send other planners if I'm booked on the date or if it doesn't, it's in a bracket that doesn't make sense for me to take on, I send it to somebody who I know it works much more frequently within that bracket, and there's other planners that I don't have a $1,000,000 budget minimum that they'll send me theirs that it's like a $500,000, budget. So, I think planners is probably the biggest referral besides, like, word of mouth and repeat clients.
I think that's so important because I think, even as I've gone through my journey in this industry, it's such a relationship based business and
Yeah.
so heavy on referrals. Like, I mean,
Good and bad. Yeah.
what?
I said it's good and bad for people.
It's good and bad, truly, but, like, you
Yeah.
need to get out there and, like, put yourself out there and, like, meet other people in this industry because that is literally the only way you will get referrals or business, whatever you're building, even if you're a vendor partner or,
Yeah.
just anything adjacent. I mean, every industry is about who you know, but I feel like this one is, like, times 2. It's
I
really so
know.
heavy in that.
I think it's bad, just to be, like, clear, it's bad because it's like we're investing so much into marketing and into the business, into this, into social media, but you really do need to invest in, like, meeting people or spending time with people or, like, being front of mind for people.
Yeah,
It's
you do. And I mean, this industry also has a lot of events. Like for anyone thinking about coming up in this industry, like there's so
Oh, yeah,
many in-person events
so
that
many.
it truly is though like the unlock. Like I spent a week in at one of the industry events up in Napa a few weeks ago, and it was like amazing how many relationships I was able to build in 4 days, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise at
yeah.
all.
No, I
Um, you specialize in non-traditional venues and being able to do anything from like a remote land somewhere and like put up a tent and put up a full production to private spaces. What does that demand that is different than like a ballroom that is ready to have an event, or your typical venue space that's maybe a hotel buyout or hotel property? What is different about that, and what type of skills does that require from you to make sure that you have to be able to put on those productions that are literally in like farmland that you're just popping
yeah.
up and building from the ground
Yeah,
up?
I do a lot of private home weddings, and I mean, we bring in electricians, we have communications with the groundskeepers and the landscapers, like, it's really very different experience. We did one last summer, and we had to, like, move a generator because whatever, like, sight lines, and then we, like, at the last minute had to call a generator, but then it was like an electrician, and it was, like, the wrong electrician, like, he didn't do whatever, that power stuff. So you have to be, like, super in the weeds and aware of what you're doing and have, like, 17 backup plans for everything because it's just, like, even at that same house, we had planned on putting the restroom trailers, like, in front of the house, but, like, when the trailer to drop off the truck that to drop off the trailer came, it was, like, a little bit bigger, so he couldn't make the U-turn, so he put it somewhere else, so he needed something to hide, like, the hoses because the hoses were visible, like, it's it's just all the things that are in place in a ballroom, like bathrooms and electricity and even lights, right? Like, even lights to go to the bathroom. Those are the things we bring in, and that's, like, the joy of it, like, I love it so much, but, yeah, you have to think about a lot of details.
I couldn't agree more. I've done a few at private home events, and it's fascinating how it's also the stakes are higher, right? You're responsible for someone's property and like
Wait, and
that's
also they're watching you from the moment they wake up because they're sleeping in the house usually.
yes, exactly. They're literally in the window watching you like recreate their space. But, if something goes wrong, or I mean, you really have to be careful about damage and like things happen. Sometimes it's out of your control, but like there's trucks coming on site, there's, generators to your point, like there's wires, there's all the things. And
Yeah.
it can become such a different experience, like you mentioned, because like they're right there watching you and you don't have the like venue team behind you that's like, this is how we usually set up the space, and this is where the bathrooms are and this is
But I
where our kitchen
actually hate
is.
that. I mean, I really do. Like, I have a hotel wedding coming up, and it's like this the bars work better here, they said. And like actually it was great advice. Like, yeah, in this case, like I'm gonna take your advice. The bars do work better there. I understand. It's closer to the back of house. They're not like schlepping glassware throughout the space. But I love looking at a space and thinking about it from a clean slate. Like I actually don't even want to know what you did for the wedding that was there 40 years ago, like your great aunt's wedding, which happened last summer. It's like someone's aunt was also married there. So yeah, I'm like, don't tell me anything. I want to just see it. I want to, I want to go there. I want to experience it myself, and then let's talk and figure it out. And yeah, and that's why it's like it's not harder for me to work in like a Cipriani or in a ballroom, but it's just like a completely different experience. And I love, love, love working in private homes. Like I love it so much.
I think that's so true. It truly is a blank slate. Like there's
Yeah.
no, we've done this before and this is the best way to use the space. Like usually they
Yeah.
either haven't done it before or they just give you full creative freedom to do whatever it is that you want with the space because they're completely relying on you to do that. And there's nobody kind of giving you like guardrails or parameters on how to use the space or what they need in that space. So I think that's such a good point. Okay, switching gears a little bit, I want to talk to you about Spennie, which is such an amazing platform for this industry that
Yeah.
I think is so needed and filling such a gap. And I know that it was actually the name of it came from a walk with your dog, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, my dog is Penny, and she
Okay.
likes to spend my money, so that's where that name came from. But I was, like, thinking for a while about names, and I wanted it to be, like, something special, something around me, um, and Spenny was just like a joke, like, "Oh, Penny, she spends my money, Spenny," and then I checked and the domain was available, and I was like, "Okay, that's the name."
I love it. I also think that's such a testament to like when you decide to do something, you just go do it. Like there's not a lot of like paralysis in the decision making process. And I think that's so important because the fact that you were able to launch a, planning company and Spenny in the time span of the past couple of years is amazing. And I think it is in part due to like you just kind of moved. You just did it
Yeah,
and you just decided.
yeah.
When did you launch this? And how did you decide this was something you were going to launch? And where in that process did the parallelism of like your planning company and being a tech founder live? Like, how did you think about launching or having both of those businesses together in parallel, given the launches, I think didn't come that far apart from each other?
A couple years, and first of all, I always say if you start one business, you're gonna do more. Like, you just realize it's not that hard to, like, make a website, buy a domain, like, do the emails, like, all that stuff I think really blocks a lot of people tell me when they're thinking about their own business, they're like, "I don't even know how to do this," and once you've done it once, that stuff's just a no-brainer the second, third, fourth time. So starting it wasn't intimidating at all. In fact, I never ran a tech company, so maybe it would have been a little helpful if somebody told me how hard it is to run a tech company versus a service-based company. But people always are like, "How do you split your time?" And I'm always like, "I just, like, live in the wedding industry." It's just one big mumbo jumbo absorption of time in the space, but Spenny was less of a, like, formal launch, I should say. It was like we had a product and we started testing it out and getting a couple of my clients to use it, and then it just, like, kept going, and I kept adding brands, and I started, adding a lot more brands. So, it was a little less of a pivotal moment, if that makes sense, but just, like, this soft launch into a live, usable e-commerce website. I I cannot believe how people register. People go into, like, a Bloomingdale's or Crate& and Barrel or a Target or an Amazon and just, like, trigger happy get things that are on a list that was made in, like, the '80s as to what you need. So there's, like, you need your fine china and your everyday china and this glassware, and, like, people don't live that way anymore. And I live in New York, and people don't have space for all that stuff anymore. So it's just, like, mind-boggling to me that, like, the industry is still educating people and teaching people that this is how you're supposed to do it. I and then when I got married, I there's this really cute store in New York that I always tell as part of the Spennie story called Click Gallery, and you walk in there and you're like, "Oh my god, I love everything here. I want my apartment to look like this." Well, why can't you register there? Because the tech is hard for the store to manage. So, I knew there was a business here to be had, and I always was like, "Someone's gonna do it one day, like, help these smaller stores and smaller brands get on wedding registries. Like, someone has to do that. It's such a good idea." And probably a few 2 years into it, I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." So, that's kind of how it happened, and our ultimate goal is to provide a tech solution to smaller businesses and smaller brands that know they have a potential revenue stream of wedding registry, but don't have the wherewithal to figure out how to do so. Onboarding to the Knot and Zola is really challenging and time intensive. Putting on an app on your website isn't really inviting a new customer base or audience. It's just like putting on an app on your store. So we enable all of these. We give them orders. Like, they love us because 'cause we're just sending them orders, and for couples, we're allowing them to register a little bit more thoughtful a lot bit more thoughtfully with brands that ideally they're discovering at such an impressionable time in their lives and continue to, shop with these brands or promote these brands over the course of their marriage and life together.
That is so cool. And I think you saw a gap and you just decided you were going to go for it, which is amazing. But these things don't happen overnight. So can you like give a little bit of like, can you like peel back the kind of curtain and just share like what was the process to get a working product? Like how long did that take you before? I know you said it was a soft launch, but nonetheless a
Right.
launch. How long did it take you to kind of develop a working product, launch, and then there's the like traction story, like getting traction, starting to get traction, like getting out there. What did that kind of look like in the super early days? And how did you get from like point A to point B to really get a working product out there and get people using?
Yeah, so I had a team in the beginning, of developers that really helped me with design and getting a website together. And we built something really quickly. I got connected to this group through I did a wedding for somebody in the ring concierge like group, and it was somebody who like had developed some ring concierge stuff. So it was things happen really synergetically in my life, meaning, like, I did this wedding, and I was kind of venting to someone that I'm trying to find a developer, and then, like, she connected me to this guy who then helped build it really quickly. So, I do feel generally when things are meant to be, they happen sort of synergetically like that. Um, and so this team helped build a product for me really quickly. It wasn't, like, the best product in the world, but our agreement was, "Let's get something up really quickly to sort of see what works, and we're not gonna invest a million quadrillion dollars into it before we know if this is great." So we had synergy. We built something, we don't even need to go down this route, but I was also like in the venture space at this time, like pitching it to the venture world and going to all the startup events in New York, and really like that was my angle. So I was in that world and I'm doing well, but it wasn't a great time to raise, especially in this space, especially in New York, which I'm sure you can relate to. So
Absolutely.
so I was like not really raising so formally anymore. I mean, I was like still going to these events and trying to learn and educate, but then I mean, it was hairy for I don't want to say hairy in terms of business. The product was not perfect. And the thing about owning an e-commerce brand, particularly a marketplace, is like things change immediately on the internet. So you need to update your product immediately. And you need to lean into things like Shopify and all these lessons along the way that I learned because I had to. Like you have to lean on Shopify or you have to adapt your e-commerce because of some like Google Chrome update that like, impacts some little thing that you didn't even know existed. And that was like a year of my life of like figuring out how to make the product work with an ever-changing ecosystem. But now I feel like the last not the immediate now, the last like year or so, we have a product I'm really proud of. We have traction. We have a lot of I mean, the most proud I think I am is of the brands and our we're just adding so many brands on and we get so much outreach from brands and we meet brands just either randomly or through other brands. And that's just the best. So now we're in like I'd say comfier stage where like we're getting orders, we're getting brands happy, like there's just this sort of symbiotic relationship going on.
So how long did that take you? Like, when did you guys start building soft launch and then kind of get to this place where things are starting to feel like, it's starting to breathe kind of on its own and kind of have that relationship going?
I'd say like 3 years.
Yeah. I feel like that's the story that like doesn't get told enough because it's the same from my experience. And I think going into this, you mentioned this earlier, like if somebody would have told me how hard it is to run a tech company, like I had no idea either. And the fact that I didn't know was almost a blessing because I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have done it if I knew. I
Ag-
mean, now that I've done it, I can't even think about doing anything else. And I will probably do other businesses. And, I don't see this being my only thing that I ever launch. But the fact that I didn't know what this journey was going to look like was the reason that I was able to take the leap. But it
Yeah.
does take longer than you ever anticipate or longer than you've ever planned for. And, people sometimes go into this for like a quick turnaround, like a quick payday or quick exit or quick fundraising journey, and you're just gonna like raise millions of dollars and launch the thing. And that's just not, I mean, partly because of the industry perhaps that I'm building in, or that we're building in, but it's just, it takes longer than you ever anticipate it's going to take. And our
Yeah.
journey has also been a couple years to get to a point where it's like you kind of experiment and throw spaghetti at the wall. And then it's like, oh, this is actually what's working. This is what's sticking. Now the product is actually something that I'm proud of, that's working, that is,
Yeah.
I can actually demo and pitch with confidence instead of feeling like I'm pitching something that it's like half baked. So it
Yeah.
truly is such a process.
Yeah, I agree. I also like very much learned I didn't want to take investment from the wrong people or the wrong companies. And I was really like I own my other business. So like having autonomy over what I'm doing was really important to me. So it's like and I guess I learned in that first year pitching to VCs that that was one of the values that was something I didn't want to let go of. And so it took 3 years because I didn't want to negotiate on that value for me personally. So I don't think my experience is like I mean, I know so many other startup founders in New York who like blinked and like raised $1 million and then blinked again and it was like $5 million. But I didn't want that experience. I didn't want to have a huge team at this stage in the business and in my life. And this was my journey. This is how it went.
I don't think there's any right way. And I think there is a path to get the outcome you want in so many different ways. And there's not, I think there's this pressure that you have to raise, or you have to have the big team, you have to have the office space, you have to have the, that's it's the glamorous side of being a tech founder that people think just like automatically falls on your lap. And even if it does, it's not always the right path for you and for your journey and what you're building. There's so many things that go into it and deciding how you want to go about it. What are you seeing, given you're kind of at the intersection between planning and tech? What are you seeing in the world of couples and people that are planning events? What are you seeing that's different from them than before? Like in terms of what they want from planning, their expectations, their expectations around the experience of planning in both, the journey leading up to the day of and the day of itself. Are they expecting something different from vendor partners? Are they leaning into the tech? What are you seeing that is perhaps like evolving out there from a client perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like clients want to be involved with all vendors. So like even a few years ago we used to be like sign this contract. This is the way, and I think that I don't know if it's like a Gen Z thing or a today because we see so much of the inside in social media. I do feel like clients want to talk to vendors more and be more involved in the process and do more um like I used to go to showroom like the party rental showroom for example all the time alone or like pick up a few things and bring it to another meeting. And I feel like clients wanna, like, go there with me, and I just be involved more, which I don't hate. I actually, like, I probably should from, like, a business perspective, but I don't hate it. I think it makes the experience really special, and it gives me more time to get to know them and to, like, make it all really perfect for them. But yeah, I feel like people just wanna be involved in everything right now.
I think it's also the fact that they want the instant gratification to see and understand what's going
Yeah,
on
that's
because they
smart.
can have
Yeah.
it, right? Like
Yeah.
years ago, or even just a couple years ago, you couldn't think about being able to like have that level of instant gratification, not just in wedding planning, but just in general in every life experience. And so they're
That's
probably
true.
extrapolating that to their planning experience and like wanting to have that instant sense of what's going on, what is this gonna look
Yeah.
like, what is this gonna be. How
And
do you see
to that point, though, I am having clients, like, go into ChatGPT and be like, "Show me this done this way." Like, there is an ability for them, whether it's good or bad or effective to the design or not, they are doing it on their own without me. Like, they're going in late at night and asking them being Chat, asking Chat all their deepest, darkest wishes. So
what do you see that like do you see that being a challenge for planners and industry professionals? Like how do you see that evolving and what are the challenges and some of maybe the ways that you're like anticipating that and preparing for the evolution of how far that might go in the future?
yeah, I think designers are when they used to, like, show a rendering of, like, the ballroom, I think they're forced to render a lot more than they did before. I think it's not going away, so we have to figure out as planners, like, how we want to involve it, and rather than being like, I just went through this with a client, and rather than being like, "Oh my god, you asked Chat," which was, like, my gut reaction, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't you spent so much time on Chat, that looks so good, I'm so impressed." Like, you have to embrace it and then, like, show it to the design team and be like, "This the client came up with this. What do you think?"
What
I
can we do
it's
with
like
this?
it's gotta be involved. So, yeah, it's just a sad reality. I mean, it's just the reality, I think.
What do you say to the planners that are like, I don't want to do this? It's like the ones that are really afraid of the AI element or the advancements in technology and that maybe are hesitant to adopting it or just don't really know how to even adopt it both in their internal business but also in their conversations with those clients that are coming to them with that chat gpt image or that Gemini image that is like fully not based in reality.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can certainly decide what you want for your business, and there's plenty of designers out there who probably are gonna be like, "I don't work with clients who use Chat," say some big statement like that, but I think it's only gonna hurt you in business later on. It's gonna be interesting how it plays out, and, ChatGPT renderings and venues are not perfect. It's not to scale, like, there's a lot of issues I saw in a few of my clients' homemade renderings, but when you're up late at night wondering if you should spend the money on the ceiling drapery or the greenery, like, who are you gonna ask? You're gonna ask Chat, and we have to figure out how to embrace it, or you're
I
gonna ask
couldn't agree more.
somebody.
I've been having a lot of these conversations lately, as you could imagine, and I feel like you have two options. You either have the option of being a laggard and in the laggard group or the adopter group. And if you're in the adopter group, you are going to have the opportunity to jump leaps and bounds ahead of, you know, the ones that choose to be in the laggard group because it's not going anywhere and you either lean in or you lean out and you're sort of left behind. And I just think that's a huge risk because you're going to be left behind a group of people that are adopting it and that are figuring it out and that are leaning in. And those are the ones that are going to figure out how to use it to their best advantage and how to use it in everything from internal business operations to client conversations and
Yeah,
all the things.
yeah.
You're also a toddler mom. What does a week look like in your life where you are running two businesses, a family, and how do you, I mean, I hate the phrase doing it all because I truly don't think that there's any one day that I'm doing it all because I am also in the same boat. I don't think that doing it all is a real thing, but how are you structuring your weeks to feel some level of sanity and normalcy across all three elements and feel like you have the right support in place to be able to like operate at your best capacity across all three.
I mean, I'm a planner, so I'm a hyper scheduler, so I think naturally my type A personality is managing it to the best I can, but, um, no, I mean, I'm lucky I have childcare every day, so that I mean, Monday through Friday, so that's a big win, so I can focus on my work, and it's important to me to try to make bedtime most nights, so I don't really try to take meetings from 5 to 7, but I take 7:30 meetings pretty consistently, and we, as you know, have a very social industry, so a lot of times I'll go to an event once or twice a week, and I'll miss, like, 1 or 2 bedtimes, but not, like, 2 or 3 bedtimes, so it's I it's just the juggle, like, I don't know, I think you just are constantly in the what's most important today, and then, like, the kid is sick, and then it's all up in the window, and you just gotta figure it out.
Oh, how I know how that goes. It is wildly unpredictable as much as you plan. Um, I do, I'm a planner, and I think it's just you can plan as I mean, it's like giving birth, right? Like you can plan as much as you want to plan, but like ultimately there are so many things that
Yeah.
just get thrown at you that you just have to figure out. And I feel like running a business plus being a mom is just essentially fine-tuning your ability to navigate through ambiguity because all of
Ye
it is so ambiguous and every time I hit a new milestone with my kids, I'm like, I've never done this. I don't know how to manage through this, but I'm going to figure it out. And same with the business. It's just
I agree with that completely, and I think a lot of people go into parenting, like you said, like, over planning everything, even, like, childbirth and, the night nanny thing and, like, all these decisions, and I firmly believe, like, you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know what anything's gonna be like, and I felt like that before having a baby, and I feel like that now, so it's actually a little bit debilitating because I don't like planning so far out on my personal life because I'm like, "Well, I don't know, like, we'll see how he's doing that," you know? Um, but at the same time, it's liberating because you're not you're just getting comfortable with the ambiguity, like you said.
totally, exactly. I mean, it's a whole nother ball game in this phase of life trying to burn businesses and have kids, but it's also like the most fulfilling. I couldn't imagine it any other way, as I'm sure is the same for you.
Yeah, it's a lot of
You
fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It keeps you on your toes. You've said that being social is one of the most three important skills that a founder can have. What does that mean in actual practice for you? But then also, what advice would you give for somebody that is trying to build the right network and be social, and especially if they're introverted? Like how do they go about that, and how do they make sure that they're kind of building out that right network and putting themselves out there? What worked for you and what advice would you give for somebody that it might not come as naturally to?
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard one because even, like, I go in phases where, like, I don't go to an industry event for 3 months, and then I go to, like, 3 a week, so I feel this completely because I go in state like, phases and stages, and I happen to be in a stage right now of, like, going to a lot of events. So, the worst is, like, a vendor, and I get this, like, 1,000 times a day. I feel like cold asks me to go to coffee or lunch. Like, I do not have time to go to coffee. It sounds so nice. I wish I could, but I generally will not just, like, not say yes to, like, a cold outreach like that because my time, as we just talked about, is, like, way too valuable for a random lunch. But with people that, like, are my industry friends, I love making time for dinners and lunches and drinks because it feeds my soul. Because 'cause they're my industry friends, they're my friends. So, I think, like, a smart way to think about it is not so much, like, networking, but, like, genuinely trying to make friends in this industry and then feeling like you have people that it's not so worky, but, like, it's important to be social as a human being, so um, yeah, like, I have a group of girlfriends in the industry that I feel like I've gotten closer to over the last few years, and I kinda just think about them as my friends, and then it's, like, less worky and trying, it's just, like, we're going to a girls' dinner. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
that
think it's such good advice. I think like also I found that like at this phase of life when I'm building and my focus and my brain is only on like this industry and what I'm building and like the stuff that's going on in my head about Gia and like what we're doing, it's just more organic and easy to talk to people that like get it and that are kind of in the same vein. And I
Yeah.
find that building those relationships just come easier. It's like less forced or feels more organic. And
Yeah.
it's like finding your right people and finding the people that just get it. So it doesn't have to feel like it's taking so much of your time because it isn't. It's like just a natural flow, which is so cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say, like, I think it's a really social industry, and there's times I feel like a lot of FOMO, like I'm not going to something and like, "Oh my god, it looks so fun. Why am I not there?" So, I think like all those feelings are super natural and we all feel them, but you just cannot say yes to everything, or like I cannot. And like I have an event tomorrow and it's not the best timing for me, but it's really important for me to go. And because I have a big event and there's some people involved with the event that are going and I really want to see them. And that these are like the decisions you have to make every day.
It's so true. I mean, when you become a parent, I feel like that's when I became so much more selective with my time because it's either I'm focused on going to the things that have purpose or I'm with my kids. And
Yeah, or
that's
like, by
essentially
the
the
way,
decision.
tomorrow, like, I would probably go to sleep early because I have something the next day. So, like, also it's sleep, which is like
Yes.
a real thing.
Which is harder to come by these days. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So, no, that's like a huge element of it. I think. Yeah, I like kind of miss just like doing nothing and like being a homebody, but and I definitely am a homebody, but you have to just constantly be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go from 7 to 8. These are the 3 people I'm gonna say hi to, and then I'm gonna go, and I'll feel good about it."
yeah, I couldn't agree more. Okay, quickly to close us out, what is the one registry item that you see couples almost always forget to add or think about, but
Mm.
they should think about?
Oh, this is a good one. I feel like there's 2 things that I think. If you're a drinker, I always think you need, like, good bar accessories and good glassware, because I think that if somebody comes a lot of people register for, like, juice glasses and water glasses, like, tall glasses and short glasses, but I think it's really cool when you invite people over and you give them a really nice glass, or like you actually have a martini glass or a coupe glass, or you do a little shot before dinner, like in a fun glass. So I always think fun barware is like and glassware is something people always forget about because they just think about like water. So boring. Um, and the second is maybe slightly more obvious, I don't know, but picture frames. Because 'Cause you're gonna wanna print all your put all your pictures from your wedding, your family photos in picture frames, so I think you need, like, a lot of picture frames.
I think that's great advice. Those are definitely two things that I forgot about and wish that I
Yeah.
had put on my registry. And had I have had something like Spennie, it wouldn't have been a problem. I feel like I didn't even know where to begin. And there's just like you don't know what you're doing if you've never done it before. And I definitely forgot all those items.
Yeah.
Okay, what is next for Spennie? But also what's next for you?
Just me
Like
personally.
you personally or professionally, what do you see for yourself in the next couple years? And it
Hmm.
could be with the business, it could just be with you personally. But curious like how you see kind of Spenny evolving and how that may kind of play into also your life over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, Spenny is in a very exciting place, I would say, because 'cause we're adding on so many new brands all the time. So, I feel like Spenny is growing in a way that I'm really excited about, and we have some really cool partnerships coming up for the next, like, year we've planned out with different brands and different, like, influencers and movers and shakers, so, yeah, I mean, Spenny's, like, super exciting to me, and then personally, I mean, we have some really cool weddings coming up in this year and next year, we're well underway booking next year. But I think we have a Miami wedding coming up, and we're really focused on some more destination work for the next iteration of Emlan. Our work is super weekend focused and very hospitality focused, so I think it just naturally makes sense that we do more destination work. So I'm excited about that, and I wanna do some work in Mexico and the Caribbean and in places that our New York clients spend a lot of time in. So, yeah, I think
I
those
can't wait to see those productions. Those
yeah,
those those productions are going to be amazing. Those
are
destinations are beautiful.
no, but I live in Tribeca. I'm always it's my favorite neighborhood in New York. I'm always out and about, like, getting coffee and getting drinks and hanging out with my family. So, yeah, my work life is super fabulous, but my personal life, I'm just hanging out in Tribeca, and I couldn't be happier.
Raising and growing your family, which is the best thing in the world. Okay, where can everybody find you? Tell us all the handles, all the things if they want to find Spennie or get more information on Emlyn.
Emlan is Instagram at Emlan, EMLAN underscore events. And Spennie is at let's underscore Spennie, SPENNIE. And if you DM Spennie, we will send you a little treat in your DM. So send us a DM and we'll get you something to get your registry started. And if you want to reach out to Elizabeth, that's me, you can do so on Emlan Events' website or Elizabeth at emlanevents.com. We're also on TikTok, but you'll find that.
Is
Oh,
it the
it's out
same handles? How do they find your TikTok?
yeah, it's out there
Okay,
somewhere.
well, we'll let people find you guys on TikTok.
Yeah.
They'll make their way there. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. I love chatting as always. It's always
Thank
the
you.
best.
This was a lot of fun. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.